Howdy, Spyro here. Let me guess. Somebody in the server recommended you to do a Cmos reset. And you're like, what in the world is that? Well, I'm going to show you how to do a Cmos reset. But first, what is a Cmos reset? Cmos reset is basically taking the motherboard and setting it back to factory. It doesn't do anything with your files. It doesn't do anything with Windows or anything like that. So your files are perfectly safe. The only thing it does is resets any settings inside of your BIOS, such as if you have any overclocks, any kind of tweaks to your CPU, like if you do any kind of overclocking, if you do any kind of RAM overclocking or anything like that, that's possible because there's many different settings inside of BIOS that can cause several different things. It could be a motherboard even malfunction in BIOS because BIOSes anymore, they're getting complicated, in other words. So let me just jump in and show you how to do a Cmos reset. I'm doing this free-handed this time, hopefully, because I don't have a mount, because what you got to do is remove a Cmos battery. First thing you do, because this computer, I don't have a power supply in it. So first thing you need to do is unplug the computer from the wall outlet. But for this demonstration, I don't have a power supply, so obviously I can't do that. So just unplug it from the wall, or the power cable that goes to your power supply, unplug it. Don't go off of the switch because they're not really reliable. Just simply unplug it, either from the wall outlet or from the back of the computer. All right, now I got to remove my side panel. So I got to, this is fine, this is fine. Okay, this here, got to remove this screw here, this screw here. Then I got to grab this piece of glass without breaking it. Set that aside. Now, by the computer being unplugged, not connected to power, the next thing you need to do, this computer is starting of a new build, so it don't have nothing in it at all. So there's going to be nothing in the way. There's no CPU cooler. There's no RAM. There's no GPU or nothing like that going to be in the way. So kind of best case scenarios, this is going to be the best case, easy to work on. Your computer may vary because you're going to have all the other components inside, such as a CPU cooler, CPU, RAM, GPU, SSD, plus all your power supply cables, etc., etc. So, yeah. Well, here's your motherboard. Okay, here's where your CPU goes. Here's where your RAM is. All right, and you have a whole bunch. Mostly, what we're looking for is this right here. This is the Cmos battery. Now, what you have to do, you have to look real close at the Cmos battery, which hopefully I got it on video, okay? And find out how it comes out. Some of them is slotted and it goes in this way. In most cases, it's just like this here. Well, there's a little button on the somewhere on the side of the battery, because some of them's over here, some of them's over here, some of them's below. On this case here, it's at the top. Now, what you'll have to do is on that button is push it away from the battery, aka push it away from the center. So what I got to do is take this little button, which is on the bottom, and push it up towards the CPU. And what I do is I take it and I catch it with my thumb, and I kind of push hard and kind of flick it quick. And the battery will just pop up. Because if you just push on it, it makes it harder for the battery to come out. But watch how easy this battery is to come out. Make sure I got it. Video and view. Catch it just like this. And just like that. There's your battery. Make note on how the battery comes out because you're going to have to re-enter the battery in a second or two. And on the battery, you'll have two different sides. You have, let's see, the label side, which you can see on this battery here. It's got a label. And you have the other side, which is don't have a label on it at all. So make note, this one here, the label was sticking out, which on yours, the label will be sticking out. It doesn't matter on orientation, on how the battery's turned or anything like that. It does not matter. Now, once the battery is out, take on your power button on your computer that you use to turn your computer on, press it about 4 or 5 times to be safekeeping. Maybe hold it in for maybe a second or two, press it a few more times. What you're doing, you're draining all the caps, aka these capacitors, resistors, and stuff like that. You're basically draining all the power from them, and even the power supply, because your power supply can hold residual power and make where simply just removing the battery useless. I don't use the jumper method because the jumper method is just so unreliable. This way here works 100% of the time, is why I recommend it. There's jumpers, there's a button. Some motherboards have a Cmos reset button. Don't use those. They're because you don't know if it's actually doing anything. Then after you press the button a few times, take the battery and reinstall it. And on mine, most likely it's the same case as on yours. You have the switch. The opposite side of the switch goes in first. There's two little black lips here. The battery goes underneath those two little black lips. Then you just push on the battery and it latches. And you should be able to hear it click. Just like that. Now to show how the battery comes out again, I'm going to do it one more time for this demonstration. Make sure. Just like that. And I'm going to reinstall the battery by going like this. Just like that. Doesn't take much force at all, which you can see it just like that. Then once you do those 2 steps, you can plug in your computer to power and hook everything back up the way it should, turn your computer on. Once you turn your computer on, you might be presented with a message saying that default values or BIOS, something has changed in BIOS or something like that, to press F1 to load default values, or press F1 to enter setup, or something like that. If it says anything about loading default values, go ahead and do that. If it says anything about going into the BIOS, go ahead and go into BIOS. The only thing you have to do to do in the BIOS is go into the BIOS, then exit. But you want to exit and save changes. Well, hopefully this video helped you. This is Spyro. See you next time, or see you around.